Okay, we are live. Hi everyone, welcome to the VR Hounds Podcast, Episode 3. This is a weekly podcast where we cover all things VR with myself, JKVR, the Fish Stick, and Introvert. Unfortunately, Introvert will not be able to join us this week, but the show must go on. So, to kick things off, let's talk about what games we've been playing lately. Jade, what games have you been playing?
Not been doing as much gaming as usual. I did play Brass Tactics. I think it was last weekend, or yeah. Played a bit of that. That was cool. And yes.
That's
what about you, Fish?
RTS game, right? Brass Tactics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've been meaning to check that one out.
Yeah, actually, I've been playing surprisingly Super Hot. Played the crap out of that again.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been a while. That and Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. I played that with some friends the other night. They thought it was pretty awesome.
Oh.
Having to read the manual and stuff.
Yeah, that does sound pretty awesome.
Have you
I
ever
picked up that one, but I haven't played it yet. Sorry.
It's so much fun with friends. It's so cool because, like, the person's in VR trying to defuse it, and I did it with a bunch of people who never really played VR before, so they were like freaking out and stuff. Like, it's gonna explode. What do I do?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
So I have been playing Subnautica still. It's a really fun game. The deeper you get into it, the more fun it gets. I just got my submarine. I got my little base set up and everything.
Did you name it?
I did not name my submarine yet. I didn't figure out how to do that.
I think it's an option like inside the submarine. I think there's like a little panel where you can name it.
I'll definitely do that. And then I was playing Sprint Vector. Have you guys played that one? Oh, I highly recommend that game. It's ridiculously fun. It's like super polished, and you just like pull yourself around. It's kind of like zero-G movement, but just in regular gravity. And yeah, I also playing Elite Dangerous. I'm like always playing Elite Dangerous. There's a big new patch for that game coming out on Tuesday, so I'm getting ready for that. Have you guys ever played that game?
No, I got it. I remember you saying it was on sale, and I was like, yeah, okay. And I picked it up, and I still haven't played it. It's ridiculous.
I played a little bit of it.
When you do play, you're welcome to join my multi-crew. It's a little tough to get the hang of that game, but I can help teach you guys.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
the only people I played it with have no idea what they're doing, so we're just like flying around in ships, like crashing into that space station you start at.
Well, that's half the fun of the game. Just flying around those space stations.
But I know they did release a patch a little while ago where you can, like, more than one person can crew a ship.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I could have both of you guys on my ship, flying the little ship launch fighters or manning the turrets or whatever. Yeah, it's a cool game. Just fly around the galaxy. It's like a realistic simulation of the galaxy, so it's actually pretty educational, just going around and looking at all the different types of stars and planets and stuff.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
That brings us to our first subject, which is going to be the educational uses of VR. So,
yes.
I mean, VR is just like an amazing educational tool. Stuff like Space, Elite Dangerous, but also like actual purpose-built educational programs. One I played was Mars 2030. It's a program that was designed in collaboration with NASA using like real satellite data from Mars.
Oh, so I know the one. Yeah.
Yeah, you played that one?
No, boy, it looks awesome.
It is awesome. You can like walk around and see what it actually looks like on Mars, and being able to actually experience it in VR is like a mind-blowing experience. And then you get to see all these little like snippets of information from NASA on their planned missions to Mars and stuff. And there's also like the ISS like space station experience where you can go do like a little 360 video of the space station.
Yeah,
so all sorts of awesome educational VR experiences out there. Have you guys tried any good ones?
The fire one, I guess, or the earthquake one, I should say.
Oh yeah.
Teaches you how to like behave during an earthquake, which I did not do at all.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of interesting.
I played that one as well. Played. I don't know, experience. But yeah, yeah, I think I remember saying that one was like you have a kit and it teaches you like what to do. So I think it's really good. You know, we could improve like health and safety with these kind of experiences, but for that particular one, like they didn't tell you everything you could do with like every item in the kit. So I'm like, okay guys, if you want to encourage people to make like their kit at home, then I suppose making, you know, giving a bit more detail of what to do with each item would have been cool. And maybe making it free, because I suppose if
it's not free.
No, I mean it's only $1.99, but you literally are in it for 2 seconds. There's an earthquake, and then you know you just have to kind of put your kit together. Basically, put a bunch of items that are on a list in the kit, and then leave the house. But there's no realism. Like you can't be in a different part of the house. Like it starts for everyone at like the same time, and you have no idea why you're using half of the items. Well, I had no idea for half of the items in the kit. I'm like, okay, beans. Why do I need those? Or okay, probably for food. But you know, just some of the items. I remember thinking, okay, more detail would have been cool. So then it gives me more maybe encouragement to make one of these kits with all the items that are there.
Yeah, I never tried that one. I actually used to work at the Red Cross, and one of my jobs was creating pamphlets on how to make an earthquake kit, so I think I'd probably ace that game.
Yeah, you could probably do it and tell us why we're putting all of these items into the kit. It was like such a massive kit.
Be like the Morgan Freeman in the background narrating.
Yeah.
This is magic. It needs her flares.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the game that really sold the educational uses of VR for me was 4D Toys. Have you guys played that?
No, haven't heard of that one either.
It's this game where basically, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just a bunch of 4-dimensional toys. And the concept of like the 4th dimension and 4-dimensional objects is like really hard to grasp, and it's really hard to convey, especially like on a flat screen. But when you're in VR and you can actually like hold these toys and like look at them from all the different angles and see them like collapsing in on themselves and all the crazy shapes that they make, it really helps you understand that concept. And like looking at that, I was like, wow, like VR is probably the absolute best way to experience this phenomenon of like a 4D object. And yeah, it really makes me want to see more like educational experiences about like crazy hard to understand concepts. Like if you could go down to like a atomic level and watch like atomic particles move around, and you know, have Morgan Freeman explain quantum physics to you, that would be pretty sweet.
So say like
sorry.
Oh, it's fine. I was just like, I'm really into like space stuff. Mm-hmm. So any stuff that comes out like that Mars experience was really cool, and I think it'd be kind of neat to have like a black hole experience. Like this is what it'd be like to be sucked into a black hole or whatever.
Yes,
like,
I totally
it's
agree
like
with
be
that.
stretched into spaghetti and stuff, and now your legs are way down there.
Yeah, that would really mess with my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one, I think one of my first, like, well, VR, I don't know if you can call it VR, Google Cardboard experiences, was an app called InMind. And I think they've got a lot of mobile, like, educational VR apps, but not as many as I would have expected yet on the higher end HMDs, but they've now brought InMind to HTC Vive, so you can pick that up. But it's like you travel through the brain and like learn about anatomy, the neurons, and yeah, it's really cool because so it's like you've seen it up close and learning about it at the same time. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's exactly something I've actually wanted to try in VR, so I think I'm going to check that out.
Nice. Yeah, do it. It's probably better on the HTC Vive as well, because I just did it on the cardboard back in the day.
Yeah.
Old school.
Yeah, old school.
That is pretty old school. So, related to education is also VR training. I was just reading a news article about how UPS has started doing VR training for their drivers, and even the CEO and stuff is talking about how excited he is about VR technology and how it gives you access to environments that are imagined or difficult to create or recreate, and just things that are typically inaccessible. And that's just another aspect of why VR is awesome for education. Like recently I did VR Regatta, the sailing game.
We were talking about that.
Yeah, it's not like a full simulator, but I remember when I was reading some information about sailing, and I was like, none of this makes any sense to me. Like, this is so confusing. But then when I actually got into the game and I was able to like put it in the context of being in a sailboat and moving the sail around and the rudder and everything, it all made a lot of sense. And I thought, wow, this is like really good. I bet if I started sailing now, I'd have a better base of knowledge to start with than if I was just thrown into the water.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, and I've seen that the like some surgeons, I don't know if they're already using it in the US. It's still in development. Well, from what I've seen in the UK, for surgeons to do their training in VR. Yeah, so they can practice operations and things like that. I think that's pretty cool. And they say that it's good for maybe students, so they can get straight into the operating room in VR, like when they start studying. So they can get lots of like hands-on experience instead of having to,
Yeah, that's really cool. I've played Surgery Simulator on the Vive, but I don't think that's what they're using.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really popular one. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think throwing their lungs out the door is common practice.
Beating their chest open with a hammer.
Yeah, or just leaving the drill in their chest cavity. So, like, hold this for a second. I dropped this Q-tip on the ground. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And then,
well, yeah, there was like a... Oh, sorry. I was going to say there was a surgeon on the BBC who was saying it would cost like $9,000 for the equipment. So I assume they mean per like unit. But yeah, he was saying it feels realistic. And he was finding that it was really good for like practicing. He was saying like complex brain surgeries or something like that. It's really good even for, experienced doctors, surgeons.
That's really cool. Are they like just seeing all the other industries outside of gaming that are pushing VR forward?
Yeah, another one is Walmart.
Oh yeah.
US store. So I don't know too much about it, but I know that they have all 200 stores. They said the aim was for all 200 stores to deliver their like customer service and management training within VR. So I have no idea what exactly that would entail. But yeah, so they've already started that and they're trying to push it across. They might have done it now to all 200 stores in the US, which is crazy.
I'm just imagining like a VR experience where you deal with irate Walmart customers.
Yeah.
I was thinking of too.
That's really interesting.
Screaming at the checkout.
Yeah.
Put them in a harrowing Walmart simulation.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, like if that's necessary. I mean, I don't know if it will save them money maybe or save them time. I mean, I don't imagine that the customer service training would take like yonks, whereas it's definitely a must for maybe like surgeries or teaching students, because that could save lives. But I don't know if it would, how much it's going to cost Walmart or how it's going to work or what it will entail. But it's interesting.
Yeah, interesting to see how that pans out.
Sure.
Another recent article I saw was about this new mobile reference HMD from Qualcomm's Snapdragon 845. So Qualcomm, they don't actually make like consumer HMDs. They make these reference HMDs that other companies can then pick up and base their designs off of. But what's interesting about this is it has hand tracking, 6 degrees of freedom tracking, and foveated rendering. So it seems like a really advanced device that could kind of push mobile VR further than it is right now, with kind of crappy tracking, only 3 degrees of freedom. I've actually never used mobile VR. Sounds like you have, Jade. Have you ever used it, Fishstick?
Oh yeah, like before, when I was waiting on my Oculus, when I pre-ordered that thing, I had the Gear VR, and I binge watched Netflix like crazy, man, on that thing. It's really cool too, because Netflix, like, I really appreciate how they did their app, but you put the thing on and it puts you into like a cabin in the mountains.
Oh, nice.
And there's like mountains off to the left through the window, and there's a giant like IMAX screen in front of you. And whatever the show you're starting or you're watching starts, like all the lights dim in the room. And I forget that I was actually like in my apartment. I'd be just
really?
like watching stuff in the cabin. I'm like, that was so cool, and I take them off. I'm like, oh, I'm back to my crappy house now. So that I appreciated. That and Gunjack I thought was pretty cool too.
Oh yeah, Eve Gunjack. I've never played that one.
Yeah. I was kind of a big Eve fan back in the day, so it was kind of neat to be on one of those little mining ships on the turrets shooting the bad guys.
You ever play Eve Valkyrie?
I did for a little bit, and then I got super sick to my stomach. Like, I was so
Okay.
sad too, because it was such a cool experience. Like going through all the fleets and stuff as a little tiny ship. Like it makes you appreciate the size of those ships more. Like, wow, that thing is really big.
Yeah, that's one of the awesome things about VR, just taking in the scale of everything, especially in those space games.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, another article that I was looking at was about IBM and Unity teaming up to bring Watson's AI to VR and AR games. And the headline seems a little misleading, because when I looked into it, it's not like AI, like controlling NPCs and stuff. It's more just a voice recognition function. So now the Unity engine that is really popular for VR developers, you can just add in this Watson voice recognition, and then you can do all sorts of voice commands in your games. So I think that's pretty exciting, because it's always nice to see different control techniques in VR games than the ones that we already have. I mean, I think it would be a lot more immersive to give a voice command instead of just like pulling up a menu and clicking a button for certain functions.
Yeah, actually, to bring it back to surgery, I've seen that they were saying that surgeons could also use this because then whilst they're like mid-operation or like a student, shall we say, they could deliver voice commands to them, and that would be better than having them, stop, and that could mess up the surgery.
Yeah, it can be like,
So,
hand me the scalpel, and the scalpel just appears in their hand.
Or
Exactly.
like, change my tea time for tomorrow to 2 p.m. This might take longer than I thought.
Yeah.
I actually seen, talking of surgeons, there's also a GP, I don't know if you've seen him, Dr. Keith Grimes, he's on YouTube, and yeah, he's experimenting with the idea of having like his practice in VR. So he's like a GP, and he's like, yeah, so that could work for some certain types of situations. And yeah, he's got a whole series on his YouTube channel, where he goes live from the surgery and talks about how this could work.
He goes live from
It's
the
kind of
surgery.
off topic,
that sounds
yeah.
kind of gross. I don't know if I actually want to see those surgery programs. I think I'd be.
Oh no,
very
no, it's
cringed.
not like a surgery. He's a GP, so he's just talking about like how like the practice could work in VR. So instead of going down to your local doctor with the flu, you'll you'll communicate and you'll put your headset on, and I'm not sure like what ideas he has in mind, but he does have like a series on his channel, and he like updates it with how this could like improve.
That's
I
pretty
think I've heard
interesting.
something about that, like, so that way people that don't have immediate access to hospitals don't have to drive like hours and hours away to get themselves checked out for something that's
Minor.
minor, like a flu or something.
Yeah, so that makes sense, I suppose, if you're in the middle of nowhere, and then that could be one use for it. But yeah, interesting.
That's interesting. I fail to see how it would be like more effective than just a phone call.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think. I haven't watched the series, so maybe I need to tune into that and
Same.
find out.
So, speaking of series, have you guys ever watched Sword Art Online?
No.
Okay. Well, it's a really popular anime series that's about like some super immersive VR game that people just get like sucked into. And anyways, Netflix is coming out with a live action version of it from the guy who made Altered Carbon. You guys ever seen that one?
No, but I did see like a trailer for Sword Art Online, and it kind of reminds me in a way of Ready Player One. Because it's like in this competitive game, and that's kind of the situation in Ready Player One. So, and it said that once you like, you can't unplug from the metaverse. Yeah, and you'll like die, and your avatar will be deleted forever from the Oasis. So I was like, this is so similar to Ready Player One. I mean, I'm sure the storyline's totally different, but some similarities. Yeah, so it looks like one I should probably check out.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. I think it's like a super popular series too.
I was looking at some of the articles on it online and stuff. It looks like something I can get into.
Yeah, me too.
Cool.
Yeah.
I was wondering what they meant by live action on Netflix, because it's already on Netflix, right?
Well, it's an anime on Netflix, and I guess Netflix's new thing is they take animes and they turn them into live action things. Like they did it with Full Metal Alchemist, they did it with Death Note, and now they're doing it with Sword Art Online.
Okay, so, I see.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I have watched Altered Carbon, the show that the person who's doing this made previously. It's actually a really good show. I highly recommend it. It's a sci-fi show, and they do have like a VR in it, and they put like these cathodes on your forehead, and it just like sucks you right into the VR verse, and it's like hooked up to your nervous system and stuff. So naturally, one of the main things that they use it for is they put people in VR and then they torture them and they kill them over and over again to extract information from them. So I thought that was a interesting and grim view into the future of VR if we ever get it hooked into our nervous system.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a really random thing that I seen on Shark Tank, where this guy like presented his like business idea to like have like, I think, Bluetooth chips or something like on mobiles, basically in our ears, like as part of our ear. And they were like, I don't see this idea working. I don't think people are going to want to get surgery to like be permanently attached to, I don't know if it's the mobile or Bluetooth or whatever it was, but it was crazy.
Oh yeah, I did see that. He's like, here's how you surgically install it inside your head. And so,
Oh
and they're
my
like,
God.
the Shark Tank people are like, what the, is this guy talking about? Like, I mean, that would, like, in the future, I'd definitely see that stuff coming along, but, specifically just the Bluetooth function, like, it's a little, I guess if you're that important.
Yeah, I think they'll pass on
Bluetooth
that.
all the time, constantly in my ear.
It reminds me of a Palmer Luckey tweet where he's talking about how he's looking for someone to, like, inject, like, some sort of thing into his spine for feeling VR better. It's like,
okay.
Maybe that's the future. Getting our spines injected with like circuits and stuff to hook directly into VR, kind of like the Matrix.
I've always told my friends I want to be Microsoft compatible someday.
Yeah.
Inbuilt Cortana or whatever.
Start having arguments with myself. Are you talking to yourself? No, it's Cortana. She won't shut up. Cortana, shut up. Get out of my head.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, another subject that I wanted to talk about was melee games in VR. Just because, like, I think melee games are really interesting because it's kind of like an area of VR that's not quite figured out yet. Every game has kind of a different style of doing it. So, Fishstick, do you have any cool melee games that you've played?
Well, there's obviously Gorn, that's a big, awesome, popular one. And then there was a couple that I played, what was it? You're in like a gladiator stadium. And I really liked it because it did a great job of like making you feel like you're actually there. Like the crowd's cheering and everything, just the ambient noise is pretty convincing. And went a little nuts in that game, but They have like tigers that attack you and stuff.
Oh damn! I gotta try that.
Yeah. Yeah, I forget what
Have you
it's
not
called.
played Gorn, Bumble?
Oh, I've played Gorn. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Gorn
Oh,
is
just the
awesome. One
update,
of my
right.
favorites. Definitely my favorite melee game. I like how
think I've seen
the weapons are
maybe.
like bendy, because
Yeah.
it sounds weird, but it really feels good with the controller. Because one of the weird things about melee is like you're swinging this giant sword, but you're actually just holding a dinky little controller, and it doesn't have any weight to it. But when the weapons are all bendy, like in Gorn, it actually like makes a lot of sense. It's like, okay,
Yes.
it's my
That
bendy
is so
sword.
true.
And yeah,
It's my spaghetti spear.
yeah. What about you, Jade? What are your favorite melee combat games?
Gorn for sure. It's actually got a new update at the minute.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, something about making things giant. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he like will massively improve the size of the arena.
Okay.
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So Gorn. Carnage Chronicles.
Oh yeah,
Was that some
Carnage
of the one?
Chronicles is
Yeah.
a great one.
You both played that, right? Yeah. I think I've seen you. I don't know, Fish. Have you?
I don't think I have.
No.
Now that I
Okay.
Think about it. No. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good one.
It's called Gladius.
Oh, Gladius.
That's the game I was talking about. Gladius.
Check
Yeah.
that out.
Okay, yes. No, haven't played Gladius. Carnage Chronicles, Trickster VR. That was one of my first VR games.
I never played that one.
Yeah, that's really good. You can actually do. We should actually all play it. There's a 4-person co-op kind of quest thing with it
Mhm.
or something. Yeah, I haven't
Is that
played the
the
multiplayer. But
RPG one.
yes.
Okay.
So it's like a Carnage Chronicles, but yeah, different, levels style. But they're very similar, yeah.
Yeah.
They feel very different though when you're playing them. I don't know if it's just, I suppose, the weapons, definitely, and yeah, the combat is a little bit different.
Yeah, I like Carnage
Yeah,
Chronicles.
just the feel of it.
Like, I like the environments and like the enemies and just like the structure of the game. But I feel like the combat is kind of the weak point. It just has like the traditional combat where it's just like, oh, you have to swing your sword and then you just basically swing it back and forth as fast and as wide as you can in order to do damage, and the enemies will just like randomly parry you. I do
Yeah.
prefer the Gorn style combat where it's like physics based and you can like push them around, you can throw them or rip off their limbs or whatever.
Yeah.
Have you guys
Yeah,
ever
physics
played
is
Orbis
everything.
VR?
No,
Oh, I just got a key for that though.
it's like
so.
super hyped, but
It's a pretty sweet game, and the melee class warrior has a really interesting combat system because it uses like combos. So basically, you have to like do like a left slash, then a right slash, then an up slash, then a down slash, and that like does a big burst of damage at the end. And there's all sorts of combos you can do to like slow them down or to taunt them and stuff. And I think that's like a good take on melee combat because it doesn't just become how fast can you swing your controller around and just like wildly flailing. You have to actually like do the proper actions, and then you get the proper effect that you want. And then
yeah, that's always the best.
yeah, another one I played was Primordium. Have you guys played that?
No.
Okay.
No.
It's a really, really cool game. It was actually made by a dude who was a lead artist on World of Warcraft for 10 years. So it looks really, really good. Like, it's all custom assets made by this guy, and it really does remind me of the kind of Blizzard style at times. But it also has an interesting melee combat system where it's like basically you kind of like beat on certain points of the enemy, and then they'll kind of flash red, and it's like, oh, that has become the weak spot, and then you have to attack the weak spot, and that's how you like chop off their arms and stuff or break their armor so you can chop off their heads. So I just like seeing these systems that go beyond just the flailing of your arm back and forth like in Carnage Chronicles or what was that early one, Vanishing Realms.
Yeah, you know, I haven't played that, honestly. I know it's like a classic, but yeah, people are always saying to me when I play like ones like Carnage Chronicles, how does this compare to Vanishing Realms? Like, I still need to play that one. Well, yeah, what do you guys think of that now? Like, looking back at that game, you know, is it worth me going back and playing, or?
I think it is. It was really fun for me.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was a really great game. And that one is also made by like a gaming industry veteran, like a guy from Half-Life and from Valve and stuff. And I think it uses teleportation. I don't know if he's updated it to add artificial locomotion or anything. But yeah, it's a fun game. It's a cool RPG. We just go around, fight skeletons, collect gold, and get different weapons and stuff. It's worth playing.
Yeah, I've seen some gameplay on it, and it does look like my kind of game.
Yeah. So, another thing I wanted to talk about was kind of like underrated VR gems. You guys got any of those, Fish Stick?
Yeah, dude. I was just thinking about this the other day. Oh, shoot. Sorry. I was just thinking about this the other day. I got a
Oh.
It's called Dig for Destruction.
Dig for Destruction.
Ooh.
Okay, never heard of that
This is the
one.
game. And what you do is, basically, it's multiplayer too, which sucks because I never got to experience it. There was never anybody on. But there's AI you can play against, and there's just these giant maps where you, like, dig around to get access to different weapons and stuff. And then while you're digging, you have to, like, fight and whatnot.
So you're like
can grab
digging in
stuff
room
out of
scale?
people's hands. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great game, man.
So it's like a little mouse simulator, digging little tunnels in the ground.
Yeah. Mouse with weapons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. What about you, Jade? One of your
Yeah,
favorites?
yes, definitely. I mean, actually, Trickster, I think Trickster VR is quite underrated. I always find that a lot of people who are really into RPGs like haven't played it and or haven't heard about it. So that's definitely one. Another one would be, and it's like $9.99 on Steam. Another one would be Kartong. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Kartong is an awesome game.
Yeah, it's like, for those who haven't played it, sorry, it's like a, shall I just describe what it is? Yeah, it's like a survival kind of maze. Gosh, I don't even know how to describe it because there's that many kind of elements to it. Basically, you go around a maze and there's like enemies and traps, and you have to kind of make your way to the end of the maze, which is like each level, there's like different levels in the maze. And yeah, there's like crazy characters and
Yeah, it's almost like a horror game. Like when I played that game, I was really surprised at how dark and scary it was.
yeah, I know what you mean. It looks like super cute, and then you get into it, and it's like there was cockroaches in it, like giant cockroaches, which is like kind of my worst nightmare. Yeah, so that was pretty intense.
Yeah.
I don't know. It has like an intense feel that you wouldn't kind of expect when you look at it. You're just like, oh yeah, cute game, and then you get into it, and you're like, whoa, okay, fight for my life.
Yeah, and it's really cool how you're like super scaled down and you're in this like little cardboard world and you see pencils that are like massive and the cockroaches too are like these giant monsters. I love games where they just like scale you to like a super small size. I don't think there's enough of that in VR because it's always fun to play with.
Definitely.
I really liked the what's it called? Balloon Share Deathmatch too. I don't know if you guys played that at all.
Oh yeah, never played
No,
that
I
one.
haven't played that one.
It's pretty fun. It's really simple. It's just like it's multiplayer, but you're in like a lawn chair with a bunch of balloons, and you have to shoot the other person's balloons so they like fall to the ground. But at the same time, you can kind of refill your balloons.
Oh, okay, yeah, that sounds
And you
cool.
like scoot around the city, like really really high places and stuff. It gets a little trippy, but I thought it was like one of those super cool underrated games.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, another one is well, it's another survival one actually. Storm. Do you remember Storm VR? Don't know if you've played it, but yeah, it's like a survival game. You're in a snowstorm, and yeah, you have to make your way into the house. But there's like, it's kind of a bit of a puzzler, but it's quite a short experience. But it's only like $160 or something UK pounds, 159, something like that. And I remember thinking, I mean, so it's practically free, and yeah, it's a really good experience. It's very cinematic, and yeah, the visuals in it are quite nice. And I'm just waiting for the sequel.
Yeah, I was just saying, it's been out for a long time.
Yeah.
I loved it, and it was like, oh, this is so cool, but it's like you said, it's so short. I was like, I really hope they come out.
For the next episode.
Heck, it's like Half-Life 3. You know, when's it coming out?
Yeah.
Or those mysterious 3 VR games developed by Valve.
Oh yeah, I'm really keen to find out what they are. It's like, what are they? Everyone's waiting. Yeah. Oh, also talking of puzzlers, The Price of Freedom. Have either of you guys played that one?
No.
Okay, so that's like a free experience. You're a CIA agent. Yes, and you have to like assassinate this guy who's stolen top chemical weapons research. Yes, and it's really cool. So there's like lots of little like elements in it. You have to go in and like solve kind of the puzzles within the game. But yeah, it's really well done. Like it's like a story-driven experience, but it's interactive. So you're looking for all these clues and different things. You're not just like sitting back. So you're involved in it as well. So yeah, it's awesome, and it's free. So check it out.
Yeah, probably will check that out. I love free games.
Yeah, it's really good.
Have you guys played Star Shelter?
No. What was that?
I think Nathan, I saw that Nathan play that though. That's a great game. Or it looked like a great game at least. I haven't tried it yet.
It's really cool. It's a survival game, but it's like a zero gravity game. So you move around basically just like in Lone Echo. Have you guys played that one? So you kind of push yourself around in zero gravity, and then the goal in Star Shelter is kind of just to survive and to like build up your little home base. And they actually just recently, I don't know if it's actually came out yet, but it's coming out soon, is they're adding the ability to build your own bases in it. So it's sort of like Subnautica in space, basically. You just like go around in space using your thrusters, pushing around on various objects, exploring like little wrecks. I think the story is that you're in like the Bermuda Triangle of space, so there's just like spaceship wrecks all around you and like asteroid bases and stuff that you can go explore. It's really fun.
Okay.
And
yeah, it sounds like I was going to say it sounds like a lot of board games, like and it sounds like there's some strategy in there, which it's right up my alley.
Yeah, you definitely do have to employ some strategy to stay alive. I died quite a lot running out of oxygen or food or whatever in that game. Yeah, another one I really like is Scanner Sombre. Have you guys played that? It's an interesting game.
No.
It's so the guys who made the game Prison Architect, which was like the super popular indie game.
That was a cool game.
They made this game after Prison Architect, and it bombed actually. Like it horribly failed and hardly sold any copies. It was a non-VR game at first, and then they converted it to VR, and the game is like way better in VR. So what it's about is basically like spelunking. So you're in a cave, and the kind of gimmick is that you have this little radar gun that just like covers the wall in these little like colorful dots. So it's like pitch black when you start out, but when you use your little radar gun, it like will cover all the stalactites and the stalagmites in these dots, and you can just see this cave like start to come to life in this trippy like colorful dot pattern. And then the more you paint it, the more you can see, and the more everything becomes apparent. And then you just like travel through a series of caves using that gun, and it's kind of creepy. A lot of creepy stuff happens. It's kind of almost like a horror game. So yeah, I definitely recommend checking that one out. I think that's not a lot of people know about it because it's not a very popular game, and it did not have VR to start off with.
Okay, yeah, another hidden gem.
Yeah. Another one I really like is Distance. Have you guys played that?
Nope.
No. We've all played different games.
They're hidden gems, so it doesn't surprise me.
Distance.
This one's actually not even listed as a VR game, but it does support VR.
Oh.
It's an arcade racing game where you race around this car, and you can basically like drive on walls, drive on the roof, and you can fly, and you just go through this like crazy like cyberpunk city, and there's like lava and boulders and crazy pillars popping up out of the ground and stuff, and it's just like a really intense arcade racing game where you can just like do loops and fly around over lava and stuff. It's It's really cool. I always recommend it to people who are looking for racing games.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Your little friend there, Fish, looks intrigued.
He's like racing games. Likes to
Like,
feel the
ooh.
wind in his fur.
Oh,
Rat
yeah.
race.
Rat race.
You guys ever play racing games in VR?
I got a Dirt 3 I played for a little while. That was fun, like the rally car racing game.
Yeah.
It's got one of those
Cool.
Logitech controllers that is pretty. What's that? G something. It's the one that has like the shifter separate, and you got the pedals and everything.
Oh,
For
yeah.
I forget which one it's called, but
Yeah, having a racing wheel like makes it so immersive. I love
Oh, yeah.
playing racing games with the racing wheel.
yeah, dude, it's
Yeah.
oh man, yeah, I just can't describe it. Like going like crashing and stuff. Like I've done barrel rolls, like going to the finish line on accidents. It's just like whoa.
Yeah, I think if I had a racing wheel, because I've tried it out, but yeah, then I'd be playing racing games. But without it, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Well-
just not really as immersive, or yeah.
You gotta check out Distance though, because it's designed for an Xbox controller, so you don't need a racing wheel.
Oh,
In fact,
okay, yeah.
I looked into using the racing wheel for it, and everyone was like, "Don't use a racing wheel for this game because once you start flying, it gets really weird with your racing wheel." Okay. So yeah, it's really fun with
Okay,
just
cool.
a Xbox controller. Another
Project
cool.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Oh yeah, Project Cars 2
Oh,
especially
Project
is
Cars.
really fun.
Yeah.
Another cool kind of underrated hidden gem racing game is called Vector 36. You guys ever heard of that one? It's actually designed for HOTAS controls, not for racing wheels. So you are racing these skimmers on Mars. So they're like these little hovercrafts, and you have to like build them yourself with this like really complicated kind of engineering system where you place each of the individual components, you like angle the engines and stuff. So a lot of times you just end up like flying straight into the ground and crashing right off the bat because you didn't build your hovercraft properly. But when you actually like build it properly and you get it going, it's really, really fun because you're just like zipping through Mars and like hovering around turns, and yeah, I love playing it. And it's really cool that they designed it for the HOTAS because as far as I know, it's the only racing game that uses HOTAS controls. I don't know if you guys have HOTAS controls, but they add a lot of immersion to like flight sim games, so it's cool to see them used for other games.
Yeah, I thought about picking one up because I play a lot of, well, not a lot of, but I like World War II shooters, like the airplane games. And I know you can use VR on like War Thunder, which I play quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I need to check
that's
that one out.
it's cool though that you customize it like before you drive it and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, nice.
See, that's really cool. I like that stuff where you can kind of put you know, like just build it yourself type thing and then bring it out and like use it against people or whatever.
It's cool because you start out with like a little junker, and then it's like as you win races, you can buy more parts. So you get the new part, and then you kind of take off the old part from your hovercrafts, and you put the new one in. You have to like place it in the right place. Like you want to get your center of mass proper. So if you like, for example, place some new part like right on the front, then your front is gonna like dip down, and you're just gonna go right into the dirt. So it's really cool, but it's really complex and kind of frustrating. But when you get it right, it's really awesome. And yeah, I have a HOTAS because I love Elite Dangerous, but a lot of VR games do support it. Even non-flight simulators like what's that one? Battlezone. Have you guys played Battlezone, the tank game?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they added HOTAS
Play
support
that
to that a little bit after the launch. It's a fun game. I've never actually played the multiplayer in it, but it's just really cool, like going around blasting stuff with the tank in VR.
Yeah, I've actually played it on the PlayStation VR, which I don't have.
Oh.
But yeah, so that was one of the first games, I tried out, just to try out the PSVR, and it was pretty cool. Worked well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Ton of fun.
I have a PlayStation VR, but I never really use it that much.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it just doesn't see as much, play.
Yeah, it's kind of just collecting dust. It's hard to go to the PlayStation VR system after using like a full room scale. I mean, I have a lot of room scale rooms.
I can see that,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I feel. I'm guessing you got it more for the channel then. Or
yeah.
try out. Yeah, just keep up with those exclusives.
Yeah, like the Resident Evil that came out. I was very tempted just to buy the PSVR just so I could play that because I love Resident Evil.
Yeah, that's pretty much why I bought it. Was for Resident Evil.
Yeah, it's got some.
There hasn't been any information on whether they're gonna enable VR for Resident Evil on PC because it was a 1-year exclusive deal that they got, and it's been a year now, but we still haven't heard anything about VR on PC. So I hope that comes because Resident Evil is really an amazing game in VR.
We got Twisted Shoes in the chat asking about hover junkers. What about hover junkers?
Oh, hover junkers.
Yeah, I'm late here. We on about hover junkers. Yeah, that's a good game.
Yeah, it was a good game.
To that?
It kind of died. Although it's coming back though because they are coming out with an update. I forgot what it's called, but basically they're trying to turn it into like an Oregon Trail style game where you take your big hovercraft and you have a bunch of people on it and you kind of like go down. Oh yeah, it's called the Junk Road. So you go down the Junk Road and you just try to survive, and it's more of just like a co-op player versus environment type thing than the old PvP style that it was before. So that's really exciting.
So it's like actually a story behind it then.
Yeah. So unfortunately the game is kind of dead, like the multiplayer, so hopefully that will revive it because it actually was a really cool and fun game. I remember the first time I played it, it almost knocked me on my ass the first time I moved around with the like motion controls. It was almost like the first iteration of sliding locomotion, where you move around based on the direction of your hand where you're moving.
Yeah, what was the customization racing game we were talking about again?
Oh, that was Vector 36.
Vector 36, okay. Yeah, that's what we were talking about, Twisted. He jumped in the middle of that conversation once he heard customization. He was like, oh, they must be talking about hover junkers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, the customization of hover junkers is cool. You could, like, build little walls out of junk and hide behind them.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was fun. So, one of the genres I really love in VR is horror. What do you guys think about horror games?
Yeah, it's funny because I'm not actually... Before VR, I wasn't like a big horror kind of gamer. But in VR, it's just so... Because in, like, just on PC or whatever, I don't know, I don't tend to get, like, scared by just, like, going around a house or whatever. Whereas in VR, it's, like, real. So, so you get that scare factor, whether it's, like, jump scares or just the creepy, eerie kind of feeling. Yeah, just... Definitely, it's a whole different experience in VR as opposed to just, in 2D.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I love horror games. Like she was saying, like it's a completely different experience with being in VR, with it being scary. Like the jump scares are crazy in VR because it's actually there, and like you think it gets you or whatever. But yeah, I'm a sucker for horror games, and like there's not a lot of stuff that'll scare me, so. VR horror games have really taken that to a whole nother level with that attitude, I should say.
Yeah, it's the same with me, because like I'm a huge fan of like horror movies, so I've kind of reached the point on horror movies where it's not really scary, and I'm just like, I don't know, almost laughing, like I hope this guy dies or whatever. But then I get into a horror game in VR, and it just like scares the crap out of me. Like they're so ridiculously scary. That's what I love about it. And yeah, I never felt the same way about 2D horror games either.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not really even big on horror movies. It's probably the only genre that I don't watch too much of. Unless, like, you know, friends are like, okay, you've got to see this. I remember when I was younger, I used to watch a lot of horror just because it was what everyone, like, would go, like, in a group to see at the cinema. But it was, like, I would be the one not really, like, I didn't get that, like, whole jump scare feeling, or, I don't know, because it's, like, monsters and, you know, it's not real. I don't know, I've always had that kind of distance from it. You know, a serial killer is more scary to me than it, because it could actually happen than... like just, the door creaking or something.
Yeah.
Whereas in VR, I am petrified. I'm literally like running around, screaming, trying not to throw my controllers in the air. So yeah, it's a whole new experience. I'm like, it's a whole new world. I need actually to pick up a few more horror games for sure, because it's been fun so far.
Mm-hmm. So what
Any
what are some of
recommendations?
your favorite horror games? Fish?
Oh, mine with the Paranormal Activity definitely scared the crap out of me. Like, I've done a couple of videos on that of me just being legitimately terrified. And they did a really good job of, like, making it seem like something scary is going to happen, but then it doesn't, and you're like, oh, okay, and then something happens scary after that. It's like immediately right off the bat, and you're like, God damn it, oh God.
Yeah, I love it when that happens. When it's like, ha, I know there's a jump scare coming up. I know my horror, and then the jump scare doesn't happen. You let your guard down, and then it happens. You're like, oh my God. Yeah, Paranormal Activity is a great game. I had a lot of fun with that one. And
yeah,
then,
I haven't played that one. I heard like mixed reviews, so it's interesting. Yeah, so
Yeah.
both of you guys recommend playing that one.
I think
Yeah,
there were
well,
some issues with
I should
it
ask you
at
guys
launch.
for recommendations.
Oh yeah, we can give you lots of horror recommendations. Another one
I feel like
is,
you've both played a lot of horror.
yeah, Share in a Room. Have you played that one?
No, that's like a classic as well,
Yeah,
isn't
that
it?
is a classic. It's a really interesting game because
I think I might have it.
it was one of the first kind of VR games, or it was in the first batch of like VR games, and the kind of like VR design hadn't really been nailed down at that time, so people were making like these large room scale games that required a large room scale area, which no one really does anymore. No one makes like games that require a large area, because then you kind of alienate a large portion of VR users who don't have a large area. But Share in a Room was designed for a large room scale area, and it's designed for like pure room scale interactions. So you kind of like walk across your room, open a door, and then it like flips you, and then you walk across, and it feels really immersive because it's like you're just like walking through these various rooms in your room scale area, and just like that level of immersion just makes everything that much more scary and that much more creepy. And there is a lot of weird, creepy stuff. I think that game has probably scared me more than any other horror game, but that probably has to do with it being like one of the first horror games I ever played in VR. So, but yeah, I do think it's a lot of fun, and you should definitely check it out if you have the room scale room to play it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And
Put that on the list. I think I might have picked it up actually. I picked up so many games, and especially in like the summer sale and summer sale, winter sale. You know how it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I haven't played them all, so yeah I think that one is in the library.
Another one is Don't Knock Twice. You guys played that?
No.
It's actually based off of a horror movie called Don't Knock Twice.
Yes. Okay, yeah. So I think I've seen the trailer for this one.
Yeah. I watched the movie before I played the game. Not the greatest horror movie, honestly. It's kind of just like your typical low-budget horror movie. But the game itself is actually really cool, and it's similar to Paranormal Activity. It's a lot of like going around a house, and then a lot of weird, creepy stuff happens. You're being like haunted by a witch, and she's kind of like hunting you down.
In the chat here, Toasted Shoes says, Resident Evil 7 VR. He loved it. It was so immersive, never been more afraid. I really want to try that, too. Yeah, I wish they'd make that for PC. I was hoping they'd do that at some point.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I'm still holding out hope. I want to... It was really good. I'll probably replay it when it comes out on PC.
And he said VR Spy Guy says a chair in a room was bad for him. Great reviews, but he didn't like it at all. And Ripplecopter said Resident Evil 7 made him sick.
Oh, okay.
I can see that. It does use pretty hardcore, just artificial locomotion.
Does it? Okay.
And yeah, Chair in a Room, I might actually be biased by the fact that it was like my first VR horror game, so I was very new to VR horror, and it just really freaked me out. So take that with a grain of salt, but I do think it's cool how they use the full room scale interaction that a lot of games don't, although they do support teleportation now. So, any other cool horror games you guys played?
I played suppose, I don't know if it would be a game or experience. It's basically Obscura. I don't know if you play that one, but where you stand there and like you go through kind of different scenes, and it's basically a lot of jump scares. I think there's just a video on my channel of like me screaming for half of that experience. Yeah, that was really jump scares galore. Creepy environment. Yeah, people like hanging, blood, gore, that kind of thing.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, that was different.
Emily Wants to Play is a good one, too.
Oh.
That was my first VR horror game, I think.
Yeah. That one's really creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
dolls
you
and
get
stuff.
far in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they all have different ways to be conquered, too. Like, each doll has a certain quirk that you have to figure out in order to defeat it.
Yeah, there's the one where you have to like stare directly at it and like slowly back away and like do not look away or else it's gonna like jump up right behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Toasted Shoes says, or actually Ripplecopter says, try to play LA Noire VR Case Files. It's a great game. Yeah, that is a great game.
I need to try that too.
Yeah. You played that one,
Played
Jade?
the PC.
No, it's it's waiting to be played.
Oh.
But yeah, I was like, okay, I gotta have this one. I gotta play this one. It looks just awesome, amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's a VR game by Rockstar, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And have you guys played Fallout 4 VR?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is like you got these two companies, AAA companies, Bethesda and Rockstar. They're making VR games. They kind of took different approaches because Fallout 4 VR, they basically just took Fallout 4 and they put it in VR. Like you go through all the menus and stuff to do everything, and it doesn't really have the kind of room scale interaction you would expect out of a native VR game. It's still an awesome game though. I still love Fallout 4 VR. But LA Noire, Rockstar took a different approach. They kind of took LA Noire, they kind of scaled back the content, and they designed it as if it was like a made for VR game. So it has like all sorts of room scale interaction. You can like pick up all the objects and throw them around. You actually have hands, unlike in Fallout 4, and it has like motion control driving where you take your controllers and you grab the steering wheel and you're like driving like that. It's
That's cool.
It's really fun. It makes me think maybe someday we'll get VR Grand Theft Auto, or maybe even Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, man.
That would be so cool.
That would be so sick, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just really exciting to see those AAA companies like dipping their toes into VR. 'Cause, I hope this means the next Bethesda game also has built-in VR and maybe better support. Because I mean, if they're adding it to Skyrim and Fallout 4, you gotta imagine they're trying to bake it into their engine, and hopefully we'll see more of that soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully.
I don't know if you've ever played Space Engineers at all.
I've heard of
For
it.
PC.
I've never played it though.
Yeah, that game would be really cool. It's kind of like Subnautica in space, essentially. A little bit like that space survival game you were talking about earlier, except way more like, it's been out for a long time, so it's way more, complicated and technical. They've had a lot of work on it.
Yeah, and that one you can like kind of just like explore the whole galaxy, right?
You're kind of isolated. It's like a sandbox deal, so you're isolated into like the little environment you're in.
No, okay. But yeah, that would be awesome in VR.
Ripplecopter says, "Cool pet, thanks, man." This is Henry. Sometimes.
How many do you have, Fish? Is it like 4?
7.
7?
Yeah,
Wow,
I just
that
got
jumped.
2 more over last weekend. There was a couple that were like a couple hours away that needed to be adopted. I didn't want to become snake food, so
Aw.
yeah, I figured I'd bite the bullet and take 2 more in. And it's a rat, not a mouse. Ripple. Yeah, oh yeah, you got it there. Yeah.
Have you ever had issues with them like breeding with each other and spawning? Just
Well,
whole
I have
bunch
them in
of rat
separate
babies?
cages. The boys
okay.
are in one cage, girls in one cage. But yeah, I'm getting them fixed so they
That's-
can play with the ladies without getting them preggers.
That's very responsible of you. When I was a kid, we had mice, and we had that issue where one day there was just like 20 mice babies. And we're like, oh god,
Oh.
what are we gonna do?
Oh my god.
Yeah. Glad you're being a
That's
responsible pet owner.
That's right. And their cage is actually pretty big, so they keep themselves pretty entertained, toasted. Except if I let them out to play, there's a little rat play area I set up with like stuff, so they have their little playground. It's kind of funny to see them socialize.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen a movie recently where this guy gets like eaten by like a ton of rats.
I thought you didn't watch horror movies.
No, it wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be like a crime movie.
Oh.
I think it's like a really old one. The Bone Collector. Yeah. And yeah, it's about this like serial killer. And then yeah, one of his victims, don't worry, it's not based on true. I'm not laughing at a true story, but yeah, he kills him by setting lots of rats on him. But yeah, rats are an interesting one.
Sounds like
getting used to your rats now, Fish.
Yeah, see? There you go.
The only animals that I'm kind of a little bit like, ooh. And maybe like snakes, because I've seen like snakes. I've watched too many of those shows where, you know, snakes have eaten like bunny rabbits, and someone woke up to find their baby within the snake. Which is not funny at all. I don't know why I'm laughing. But yeah, very scary. They're the two kind of animals that I'm a bit like, oh.
Yeah, that is pretty scary. Well, guys, we have officially passed the 1 hour mark, so I think that's going to wrap it up. Rats eating people is a good place to end.
That's a good place to stop. There you go.
Yeah.
End on a solid note.
Yeah. So thank you to everyone who's in chat who came by to watch the stream. We really appreciate everyone who watches and who participates, and to anyone who's watching this as a VOD, please try to tune in. It's gonna be at 6 a.m. PST, 2 p.m. GMT. So every Saturday, and we do rotate the host. So next week I think it's gonna be Fishstick hosting.
That's right.
And yeah, looking forward to that. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Wipeout just joined. It's like, no, I just got here.
Hey, Wipeout.
Oh yeah, I just see the chat.
But yeah, that's gonna wrap things up.
Toasted says, I nearly tripped on a snake last week. Yeah, they are everywhere in Australia. Yeah, I actually have an Australian cousin, so I've been to Australia quite a few times, and to be honest though, I've not, well, it's Sydney, so yeah, I've not experienced too many snakes. A lot of cockroaches. Scare me. I remember on one New Year's Eve when like a bunch of cockroaches just ran out. I was like in central kind of Sydney, and a bunch of them just ran out of a drain. Yeah, I was like, Happy New Year, everyone. But yeah, so that's a great note to end on. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.